Welcome in, everyone, to our latest edition of Miami Hurricanes, live right here at the Voice of College Football. We got I don't want to say a special guest because Paul's been here many times. He's always welcome. We got Paul from the Scoop on the U here to break down some Miami football with us. We'll be talking for the next 20 or so minutes. So if you got any comments or questions there, just leave them in the live chat. We'll pass them on to Paul. Paul, how's it going tonight?
Mark, doing great, man. Got a long weekend, so I got tomorrow off, which is great. Life is good besides Canes football.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of guessed that one. That one's pretty easy to see. It's been kind of a nothing but a bunch of right crosses and slaps across the face every week pretty much for you for the entire season. So, it's probably been some time in the summer since we last checked in. And again, I appreciate you stopping by. The wholesome one couldn't make it tonight. He's stuck up there in North Dakota in a blizzard. So I guess it could be worse. But just can you put into words of how terribly wrong this season has gone? There were people that thought that Mario would step on campus and the team would just take off immediately. Others, myself included, maybe a little bit more reserved, but still thinking, hey, they were 7-5 and they were a pretty damn good football team the final 5 or 6 games last year. So shoot, they should be much better with a better head coach and coaching staff. So, I picked them 9-3. So just, try to put into words how disappointing this is.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually talking to a neighbor of mine around 5:30 p.m. when I was walking around my daily walk, and he's a big Miami Hurricanes fan, and no one understands what went wrong this year. They really don't, for it to come to this way. Middle Tennessee State, you survey the entire fan base, everyone's gonna vote yes, we will beat Middle Tennessee State. Duke beat us by 24 points with Mike Elko as a first-year head coach. Mark, I don't think any Miami Hurricanes fan would have said we were going to lose to Florida State by 42. You tell me we lose by 10, okay, fair, Mario's first year. But by 42, I mean, that's awful. And the amount of money we've invested on this coaching staff, you get Josh Gad as Bros Award winner, which has been awful this year, specifically in the red zone. We've been depleted by injuries. It's been an awful season. It's a nightmare, Mark. The momentum of Mario Cristobal that he had coming in to this season from the offseason is completely dead. In my opinion, the honeymoon's over. And you know what, Mark? I'm going to say this. Why are other first-year head coaches with tougher schedules getting it done? Mike Elko was in his first year at Duke with lesser talent because they recruit players based off of Ivy League offers. How does he come into Hard Rock and beat you by 24 points? And he's a first-year head coach with members of the staff that were let go after Diaz was fired when Cristobal came in. Lincoln Riley's getting it done at USC. They were 4-8 last year, I believe. Brian Kelly just beat Alabama at LSU. Marcus Freeman beat Clemson by 28. He's at Notre Dame. And Billy Napier, I'll even say that. Florida's a lot better than us, even though Dan Mullins wasn't a bad coach, good talent. But why is Miami struggling so hard when the recruiting rankings by 24/7 Sports say that we have the second most talent on the roster? I don't understand it. I really don't. I think it has a lot to do with within the football program, the culture, the players we have. And I think Mario's going to push out a lot of players, Mark, this upcoming season. I think you're gonna see a little bit what Mel Tucker did at Michigan State, where literally, I mean, a mass amount of players transferred out and he brought in a bunch of players. I think you're going to see that exact same thing, because I know Mario wants to win at Miami, and if the ship's going down or if it's going to stay afloat, he's not going to do it with the people he has on this football team right now.
Yeah, them struggling and not meeting expectations, I totally understand. I totally get it. I think most of us were in that realm of they're going to lose to Texas A&M, they're going to lose to Clemson, and then they may trip up once or twice, and maybe it's an 8-4 season, and that's okay, understandable. Keep going from there. you brought up the same comparison that I made at the time after the Duke game. Marcus Freeman's working with a loaded roster at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly left him in a good place. And we could run down most of the examples that you just gave as being, okay, a Dan Lanning, really good roster that Mario left him, of course, in Oregon, but still it's one thing to be a first year head coach somewhere. It's another thing to be a first time head coach. You would think that those guys would really be at a position where they really need to figure things out. But Mike Elko, 44 5 and 4 stars that I counted on the Miami roster, and 4 for the Duke Blue Devils with a first-time head coach. And shoot, they're playing really good football. They have not played, and this is another thing. It's not just the wins and losses. It's, the performance on the field. And Duke has not had a bad game. They've looked like a capable football team, even in their 3 losses, like they belonged, like they were a good team. And, the comparison's shocking.
There's no fight. There's no energy. There's been no momentum this year from the Miami Hurricanes. And to be frank, Mark, this offense has no identity. I don't even know what the identity is on defense either. I really don't. Our best player came from the transfer portal, Akeem Mesidor. He came from West Virginia. That's our best player on defense. It's been such of a disaster of a season. It's very unfortunate because, what's sad, Mark? Hard Rock Stadium has never sold out. Barely any times. You can count with your hands how many times it's sold out during Miami Hurricanes regular season games. The fans showed out. It was a packed house against Florida State, and the players didn't even care. They didn't even show up. And that's what's sad, is that the players on this team don't care. And this is going to take a long time. People say, oh, year 4, year 5. Okay, cool. I'll give you 9-3. But if you really want to be with the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the big boys of college football, it's going to take a long time. I think 7 to 8 years for Mario really to get his blueprint down in Miami. And a lot of fans are roaring about this, Mark. Fire Josh Gaddis. He's awful, which I agree. I mean, the offense has been awful. Your quarterback, the so-called best quarterback in the nation coming in to this season, he only had 1 game against UNC because he threw the ball 50 times and threw for 500 passing yards. But after that, I mean, it's been ugly. He's completely regressed. Jake Garcia's regressed. You're putting in Ja'Cory Brown as a package for third down situations primarily. And your red zone offense is atrocious. And guess what Mario said after the FSU game was over? He said, Josh Gaddis runs a great offense. We just don't have the personnel. That tells me, Mark, that Josh Gaddis isn't going anywhere unless he wants to take another opportunity somewhere else. Josh Gaddis will return unless it's on his own terms. I don't think Mario fires Josh Gaddis.
I don't see, based on what they looked like the second half of last season and knowing, to your point, what the recruiting rankings are, that they really lack that much personnel. I will make one disclaimer, and you can speak to this so much better than I can. Every team is banged up after 9 games in the season. They seem to be really hurting along the offensive line, and obviously the running back room has been hit hard. So that's obviously been an issue. Tyler Van Dyke is obviously not anything close to being able to play at this point. So the injuries have taken a toll.
I mean, our O-line has been just battered by injuries. I mean, Zion Nelson, one of our best offensive linemen going into the season, he really hasn't played at all this year. We're going to need a lot of help because, in my opinion, the O-line is the blueprint of your offense. And it does help out a lot, with your offense, giving time to your quarterback, creating holes for your running backs. I will say with the running back room, we have gotten injuries. Chaney, I mean, I feel like he's been injured his entire time at the University of Miami, let's be honest. He's still not ready to go at Miami this year, and he was injured last year as well. Knighton, when he does play, he doesn't really get the job done. His best game was against Texas A&M, but he really was a liability. I think there were 4 straight games. 3 out of the 4, he had fumbles in it. Costly ones, too. And Parrish, he's shown flashes. but they don't utilize Thad Franklin at all, which I don't understand one bit. And I think he can play Power 5 football as a situational running back for short yardage situations, especially in the red zone, goal line stands. I think Thad Franklin is the perfect running back for that situation. Why isn't he utilized? I don't get it. Knighton has taken a complete step back this year. I don't know what's his future at Miami. They're not really involving him a lot, um, with the offensive game plan, to be honest. And Parrish is probably your best running back right now in the room, most productive. And Citizen's been out for the year. So I think next year you're probably going to see Citizen Parrish, and hopefully Cheney is going to be ready to go. But I think Knighton's on the outside looking in. It's really been a tough year. And I'll say this about wide receivers, because this is what doesn't make sense to me at all, Mark. Like Keyshawn Smith, Romello Brinson, Brashard Smith, those are three guys who they don't really get a lot of targets, but they're fairly faster than most corners, most receivers in general in the ACC. Like they can make plays. Why don't you give them looks? Why don't you give them targets? Kobe Young got onto the scene late. Maybe he didn't know the playbook. It was a tough transition coming into the fall. Fair, but like he's another great addition to the wide receiver core, and Restrepo's healthy now. Like I honestly think like you had a decent to okay personnel at the wide receiver rotation. I don't think it was that bad. I really don't, for Tyler Van Dyke to regress this much. We never go up tempo, no huddle. We're always running these RPOs. We have a run heavy offense. And I don't think that caters to this offense whatsoever. I think the UNC game primarily, when he threw the ball 50 times, we threw it for 500 passing yards. We're spreading the football around, going up tempo, no huddle, a lot of empty sets. That's what Miami's identity needs to be offensively. And I don't think Josh Gaddis gets that.
Got Paul here, folks. Paul has joined us a number of times. Of course, you can catch his complete work at the Scoop on the U right here on YouTube. So get on over there, check out Paul's latest over there. We appreciate Paul stepping in here on a Thursday night. You brought up a couple names there, one in particular, because I'm thinking, okay, who's had a good season on this team? I'm coming up with Colby Young, Nigel Kelly, Leonard Taylor's always making plays, it seems. Anybody else that are the diamonds in the rough, the guys that are standing out as being some of the few that have made plays and actually progressed their game this year?
Oh, Mesidor's played extremely well this year as well. The transfer from West Virginia. Cam Kitchens, I think he's our best safety. James Williams, that's an interesting conversation. I know that is not answering your question, but that's another conversation for another time. We'll see about his development. I don't think he's playing in the appropriate position. But I think those guys really stand out the most to me that have played the best defensively. Corey Flagg has shown some flashes this year. I don't think he's a starting linebacker at elite Power 5 football. Just keeping it real. I think he's a role player, rotational guy. Cornerback situation, I think they moved out Blades to safety, which was a disaster against Florida State when they went deep on Ivy and Blades. Ivy's had a rough last year of football at times, specifically man coverage. So, the personnel defensively isn't really the strongest as what it seemed like in the offseason. So Kevin Steele's got a lot of work to do, Mark, moving forward next year. And I think that's where transfer portal players come in. The D-line for me, I think D-line's probably the best unit overall in your defense. I think you can build off of that. But linebackers definitely need to be evaluated hard. And I think you're fine at safeties for what you have. Avante hasn't really seen the field a lot. Cornerback is going to take a huge hit next offseason. Thank God Cormani McLean's coming in. But we're going to be losing players. It's not the end of the world that we lost them, but we're lacking depth where the guys behind them, I don't know if they're ready to go next year. So therefore, Cormani McLean, hopefully he's ready to go as a true freshman because he's going to be thrown onto the field.
So, Paul, you mentioned the McLean commit, 5-star cornerback. arguably the best in the nation. So that's one thing. And you know my deal. I'm talking to people from all over the nation every day. Oklahoma, Texas A&M come to mind as just huge disappointments this year.
Yep.
And their recruiting is taken, like they had great recruiting, especially Brent Venables early in the cycle. Now they've had some decommits as they are losing games, and they're not having Oklahoma nearly as bad a season as Miami. Um, but that's the one positive out of this, at least so far, is we're only about a month away from National Signing Day. It doesn't seem to have affected recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, Mario is noticeably one of the best recruiters in the nation, Mark. That's what he's known for as an elite recruiter. And, it showed. He got Cormani McLean, Francis Mauigoa. Um, one of the top, those are 2 5-star recruits. You got Jaden Wayne, a phenomenal defensive end from IMG. Riley Williams as well. I mean, we have a bunch of studs on this team. And, look out for Samson Okunlola, 5-star offensive tackle as well. I believe he's from Texas. Phenomenal football player. I mean, just look out for a lot of guys potentially committing to Miami. Recruiting's interesting to me. You can have a bad record. Like Texas A&M has really done nothing with Jimbo Fisher, and he's just done a phenomenal job recruiting. But he doesn't really do anything with those guys. So it's really an interesting game. Obviously, with NIL going on, certain programs are more desirable than others. But Mario is a very good recruiter, which is a great thing for Miami if you want to get better as a program. And, I saw a comment just now, Mark, that said it'll be quicker than 8 years. I heard that under Manny Diaz. I heard that under Mark Richt. I heard that under Al Golden, Randy Shannon. I hear it every year. Prove it to me. I'm tired of it's going to be quicker. It's going to be quicker. Because you know what? This offseason, everybody and their mom said 9-3 was fair. 8-4. Some people said 10-2. Whoever said 11-1, God bless you. This has been such an awful season that you literally just humble yourselves as a fan base, as a program, and just take baby steps. Go 7-5 next year. Go 8-4 the following year. 9-3, 10-2. Stop thinking about the big jumps. Take baby steps and be patient then, because I don't see this as a Kirby Smart turnaround going to the college football playoffs. We didn't even go 7-5 this year, Mark, but from 7-5 to go into the college football playoffs in year 2, we're nowhere near that.
Well, Kirby Smart took over a better program. Georgia was.
100%.
I know that Rick got fired, but he went 9-3 the year he got fired. So
yeah,
he was recruiting top 5 to 8 classes in the country.
Mark,
really good teams.
Here's the scary thing too for everyone out there just listening. The ACC is not a good conference, specifically in the Coastal.
Yeah.
Next year, the Atlantic and the Coastal are gone. It's going to one division. Also, Miami's schedule next year is a lot tougher. I think they play Clemson, Texas A&M, Wake Forest, NC State. Just top of my head. Could be wrong, but I think they play those 4 teams. And then the following year, it gets even harder. And the first-year head coaches like Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly, Billy Napier, probably missing a couple more. They have tougher schedules than Miami, Mark. This was an easy schedule. Our toughest games was Clemson and Texas A&M. That was it. And we lost to literally everyone.
Yeah, it's an easy schedule. There's no question about that. We know you need to go. I want you to highlight what you've got going on your channel. What have you been working on over there?
Yeah, it's God, this year's been a grind, I'll tell you what. So yeah, we're always on the Scoop on the U. Did a show with Brandon Merriweather, 2-time All-Pro, played in Super Bowl. You know him well. Number 19 was a safety at Miami. Phenomenal career at the University of Miami and the NFL. Just did a show with him tonight. We do post-game shows with my co-host Ross after the games. And things are just we're grinding here, Mark. It's very tough to consistently talk about a program that for a very, very long time has really shown nothing as a football program. So it's a grind, but it is what it is, and hopefully things can get better, right? Baby steps. It's the way I see it.
Absolutely, Paul. We appreciate you being here. And as you walk out the door on us, I'm going to go back to that 7 or 8 years as well, real quick, just because if they have the right coach and the right staff, don't you think it should be much quicker than that?
Baby steps, the way I see it. Baby
Okay.
steps.
All
Develop
right.
a winning culture slowly. Dabo Sweeney took 7 years at Clemson. Listen, I'll say this: we'll probably go 9-3, maybe 10-2 within those 7 years. But to me, getting to the college football playoff,
Yeah.
we are nowhere near that as a program. It's not like a miracle season. I think even Tennessee, look at their home field advantage.
Yeah.
It's just completely different compared to other we don't have home field advantage unless it's a Florida State, a big game, Mark. And the conference games where Tennessee, for example, has home field advantage at home. Miami doesn't have that in a normal conference game. I go to all the home games, so I don't want to hear if anyone says, "Oh, yeah, we do at some." No, we don't. We don't unless it's Florida State or a big opponent at home. So, that home field advantage is key. And I'll say this: Chip Kelly really took a lot of hits at UCLA. It's very similar to Miami, Mark. They don't have home field advantage at all. And, they've had some success as a college football program. Nothing compared to Miami, but they have had some success years before. Chip
Sure.
Kelly's a good coach. He has UCLA going the right direction this year. Look how many years it took him at UCLA to get the ball rolling. I think 4 to 5 years, you will see success. And then hopefully by year 7, you'll see the success Miami's been waiting for.
Was it the Middle Tennessee State game that really kind of slapped you across the face to say, wow, we're really nowhere close to where I thought we might be? That seemed to be where
That
it was
was
for me.
I said it before. A lot of people agreed with this. A lot of people said it was a darker night than losing to UVA 48-0 or FIU because of all the momentum and belief in Mario coming from the offseason, the money invested into the program. I think nobody expected it, Mark, and I think everyone felt that we just took a big step back as a program, and this program never recovered after it this year. Never recovered it after.
Paul, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it so much. It's great to hear from you. Glad everything's going well outside of Miami football for you. And again, thanks for helping us out tonight.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time. Always a pleasure.
Paul from The Scoop on the U. You can catch him on YouTube. Just look that up. The Scoop on the U right here on YouTube. Paul has been on many times, 20, 25 appearances here at the Voice of College Football, and bails us out on a Thursday night. We thank Paul so much for stopping by. And the Wholesome One could not make it tonight. So I do want to remind everyone that we've got Miami post game after the Georgia Tech game coming up on Saturday. So keep that in mind. Following Miami, Georgia Tech on Saturday, we've got post game right here at the Voice of College Football. And again, we do our Miami live shows every Wednesday at 7 Eastern Time, Thursday at 8 Eastern Time, right here at the Voice of College Football. I want to see if there's anything left here in the chat. Falconer X, thank you so much for your contributions. Appreciate that. We go live tonight on the main channel as well. So give me a call on the main channel at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, going live with you. We will take your calls on the weekend in college football. Week 11, Miami, Georgia Tech. Don't expect too much talk about the Canes and the Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech actually a 1.5 point favorite in that game. We do a Thursday segment that you'll want to look out for with Steve Merrill from Wager Talk, and he runs through all the games, all the teams that are related to our team channels, and we post the Miami segment here, and it'll be going up sometime on Friday. And the Canes, just to, I guess, add more salt to the wound, the only team in major college football that has not covered the spread, 0-8, throw out Bethune-Cookman, 0-8 this season against the spread, Miami football. So not meeting expectations in Vegas either. Exploring with Ben, thank you so much for reminding everyone to hit the like button. Again, I will be on the line here in about 15 minutes on the main channel, taking your calls on college football right here at the Voice of College Football. Thanks for stopping by.